A meeting of two champions. Elton John and tennis legend Billie Jean King were dear friends. In fact, Elton wrote his #1 smash hit, Philadelphia Freedom, as a personal tribute to her and her professional tennis team, the Philadelphia Freedoms. 1958, and the Everly Brothers are on top of the world. Strapped to their backs are those iconic Gibson J200 acoustic guitars, the source of a signature harmony sound that would directly inspire the Beatles, Simon and Garfunkel, and countless others. The King and his biggest challenger. By 1962, Elvis and Ricky Nelson were both Hollywood stars. Though publicly rivals for the top of the charts, Elvis privately admitted that Ricky was one of his favorite singers and a true competitor. A young Bruce Springsteen with his hard rock band Steel Mill. They were a heavy Zeppelin-influenced power trio who were once offered a record deal but turned it down. A fateful decision that sent Bruce on the path to creating the E Street Band. Van Halen, on top of the world. Their famous no brown M&M's contract clause wasn't a diva move, it was a clever test. If they found brown ones, they knew the promoter hadn't read the contract, and they'd double-check the stage for safety. REO Speedwagon, rulers of the airwaves. But years earlier, frontman Kevin Cronin had actually been kicked out of the band. He rejoined in '76, and his talent for writing the power ballads is what finally turned them into superstars. Neil Young, in 1976. After the huge success of Heart of Gold, he famously headed for the ditch, rejecting pop stardom for a series of raw, dark, brilliant albums. This was Neil at his most uncompromising and creatively fertile. The ultimate 70s supergroup, Bad Company. In 1974, they became the very first band signed to Led Zeppelin's own label, Swan Song Records. Their debut album was an immediate smash, hitting #1 and making the label a powerhouse overnight. This is what the establishment was afraid of. Rock and roll wasn't just music, it was a physical explosion of youthful energy. For many parents, it wasn't just the beat they feared, but scenes just like this, unsupervised, energetic, and integrated. The Stones, in their full psychedelic phase. This photo was for the famously strange Satanic Majesties album. The 3D cover was so expensive and difficult to create, it became a major distraction from the actual music, which was recorded amidst total chaos. The Gods of Rock live at the LA Forum in 1973. This is Led Zeppelin at the absolute height of their power, on the tour that would be immortalized in their film The Song Remains the Same. They were conquering America, one city at a time. On the set of Viva Las Vegas, 1964, the explosive on-screen chemistry between Elvis Presley and Anne Margaret wasn't just acting. The two were engaged in a passionate, year-long affair that Presley reportedly never forgot. The Lizard King and his cosmic mate, Pamela Corson. Theirs was a famously turbulent love story, but she was his ultimate muse and critic. He left his entire fortune to her, a decision that sparked years of legal battles after they were both gone. The Godfathers of Heavy Metal reunited. This was backstage at Live Aid in Philadelphia, the first time the original Black Sabbath had shared a stage in 7 years. It was a rusty but legendary performance, a highlight of the historic day. Miami, 1964. During their first American visit, the Beatles were prisoners of their own fame. This trip to a private beach was a rare escape, But even surrounded by police, the absolute chaos of Beatlemania was never far away. Traffic in 1968, the band that famously escaped to a country cottage to write. Their communal spirit was tested and then re-energized when Dave Mason quit, then unexpectedly rejoined the band mid-album, creating a new burst of genius. The poet laureate of rock and roll. But on the road, Chuck Berry was famously difficult. He'd hire a new, local backing band in every city and demand they know his songs perfectly, often firing them on stage if they missed a single note. Proof that even the man in black had a soft spot. This photo of Johnny Cash was part of a series for a family Christmas card. Despite his tough outlaw image, he was a deeply sensitive man and a lifelong animal lover. David Gilmour, Backstage, during the Dark Side of the Moon tour. The album's suffocating success nearly broke the band and created a deep alienation in Roger Waters, planting the seeds for their next masterpiece, The Wall. The Texas Tornado in full flight. While the move was pure Hendrix, the guitar was pure Stevie Ray. That's his legendary #1 Stratocaster, a battered Frankenstein of a guitar that he pieced together to create his signature, ferocious sound. The king and queen of New York punk. Joey Ramone had a legendary, unrequited crush on Debbie Harry. He wrote the classic Ramones song, I Wanna Be Your Boyfriend, specifically for her. A rare, candid moment between two punk rock icons. The birth of a rock and roll villain. Alice Cooper's iconic eye makeup was a complete accident. He was trying to create a clean, precise look, but messed it up. The resulting smeared, chaotic slashes became his menacing signature. Two generations of bluesmen. Long before this 1988 photo, the Stones hired a then-unknown Stevie Ray Vaughan to play a private party in '82. They were so blown away by his talent, they immediately tried to sign him to their own label. The Animals and The House of the Rising Sun. Their most famous song was an old folk ballad about a mythical place in New Orleans. This photo outside a random English pub is a perfect example of the band's wry, working-class humor. Two of the biggest frontmen in London, 1968. This was backstage at the Stones' legendary rock and roll circus. The Who's performance that day was so powerful, Jagger allegedly shelved the film for 28 years because they had upstaged his band. Backstage in 1978, the two sides of AC/DC's personality. Bon Scott, the legendary Hellraiser, and Angus Young, the teetotaling schoolboy whose onstage mania was famously fueled by nothing stronger than milk. A perfect rock and roll partnership. The Byrds, pioneers of folk rock. On their 1965 breakthrough hit, an electric version of Mr. Tambourine Man, Roger McGuinn was the only Byrd who actually played. The rest of the music was performed by the legendary Wrecking Crew. Creedence in 1969, their miracle year. They released 3 classic albums and played at Woodstock. The amazing part? John Fogerty wrote all those iconic songs about the bayou before he had ever actually been to Louisiana.